Hey, what's up guys? This is Joe from Analog Archive back with another vinyl video. Today's video is going to be another part of the Blue Note 1500 series that again was put together by Steven at In the Bass Clef. He had commented about this point along with Sherv, Julius Jabbar, about the fact that this 1500 series is really moving pretty quickly. This was only started a few weeks ago and we're already into the 1530s. Steven just recently showed off 1531, which was the first part of this kind of two album compilation. Fats Navarro, The Fabulous Fats Navarro. This is volume 2, so 1532. There's also the compilation, or kind of the Blue Note, what they call twofers, that came out in like the later 70s. This comprises both volume 1 and volume 2 of the Fabulous, again, the Fabulous Fats Navarro. So volume 1 and volume 2. Definitely recommend picking this up. This is going to be much cheaper than obviously trying to get an early press. And again, great bang for your buck. This was $18. Sounds like incredible. So if you see this or any of these Blue Note reissue series from the later 70s, definitely recommend picking them up. But just a little bit of background on Fats Navarro himself. He got his start in like the early, maybe late, well, yeah, probably early 40s. He played with some bigger band leaders at the time, so like Billy Eckstein, Benny Goodman, and Lionel Hampton, along with some others. But those were kind of the real big names. He got tired of kind of touring and going all around the country. So by 1946, he settled into New York City, and that was kind of right at the time when bebop was starting to become a lot more popular with Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, Bud Powell, artists or musicians like that really had started to pick up the pace with the bebop kind of scene and that kind of subgenre style of jazz. He very quickly started getting involved with Charlie Parker, so he played with Charlie Parker, again, right from the beginning. By the end of his career, so his career didn't really span for very long, from around 1943 until he died in 1950. So in those 7 years, he was able to record a very large kind of set of albums, both as a leader and especially as a sideman. He worked with other early jazz musicians like Bud Powell, Kenny Clark, Tad Dameron, Eddie Lockjaw Davis, Coleman Hawkins, Illinois Jacquet, and Howard McGee. So some of these, I mean, those names are some of the real early jazz musicians, the ones that ended up influencing a lot of that hard bop scene that most of the Blue Note catalog, at least from the 1500s, well into like the 4100s and even partly into the 4200s. That those were the artists that that kind of influenced these later Blue Note artists in the 50s and 60s. So just some incredible names that he played with. Unfortunately, when he started kind of getting together with Charlie Parker, he quickly developed a heroin addiction, and just mixed with poor health. He was not in great shape. He was overweight. From what I read, his nickname was, I think it was like Fat Girl, because he was really big, and that was kind of a nickname that he got. And he ended up contracting tuberculosis in 1950, and then shortly after that ended up passing away. So he was only 26 when he died. So again, in that 1943 to 1950 set of years, he was able to record a pretty decent amount of of material. Uh, Again, all of it's really going to kind of fall into that bebop style, but he ended up becoming a very strong influence on Clifford Brown, the absolute legend of a trumpet player. Um, and on this album, you can kind of hear some of that sound that Clifford Brown kind of embraces and that he uses on his sessions in the early to mid 50s. So the album itself, again, this is a compilation that was recorded over 3 different sessions. 2 of them were in 1948, so one was in September of 48, the other one was in October, and the entire A side was all from that first September session, and then a few tracks were from the October one, and then the remaining, there was 2 tracks on the B side that were recorded in August of 49. So essentially within about less than a year, the entire album was put together. This was obviously before Rudy Van Gelder started recording. They were done in New York City, but it didn't really, it wasn't clear on who actually was the one that recorded it. But when this did come out in 1956 as a 12-inch album, when the 1500 series started, and this was assigned catalog 1532, this was then taken, kind of put together. The tapes were put together by Rudy Van Gelder, and then it was remastered, which was a very common thing. It wasn't as common for Blue Note because a lot of their even early 12-inch ones were ones that had been recorded by Van Gelder already. Maybe they had been before the 12-inch era started, but they were recorded by him. But especially on Prestige, a lot of their early catalog was not recorded by Rudy Van Gelder, and then he got a hold of the tapes and remastered them, which is, again, what the case is for this. There are 11 tracks, which for a Blue Note album is an absolute crazy amount, but the entire A side of this album is only comprised of 3 different tracks, and there are 2 versions of each track. So that was a common thing, especially with the late 40s, early 50s. A lot of that Charlie Parker that was on like Savoy had multiple tracks that would end up on these albums. So you have two takes on each of the albums. You have the one that was considered like, they called it the, well, it was just going to be the actual version of the song, and then they had what they called the alternate master, so just an alternate take. They do sound essentially identical. Some of them are a little bit longer than others by maybe 10 or 15 seconds, but for the most part, the songs are pretty much the same length. Really, all the tracks on this album, both the A and B side, are very fast-moving bebop, maybe early bop songs, but really shows off Fats Navarro's trumpet playing on these, and just a really great session overall. I was really attracted to this album when I first heard it. I knew I had to have a copy of it. I really enjoyed, just again, right from the beginning of the songs, just how much energy, how much electricity that Fats Navarro had, that at the time really was not something that you saw with a lot of other trumpet players. I mean, he became a legend, and he became somebody that a lot of the young players of the time, or that would come to be in the 50s and 60s era, on Blue Note and on other labels, he became that. He became one of the people that a lot of people looked up to. His technique was incredible. Just the pace, it was really a very impressive thing for somebody, especially somebody that was so young. I mean, he was 23, 24 when this album was probably recorded. But especially on that A side, but along with a few tracks on the B side, you can really hear that that sound that kind of Clifford Brown uses and kind of creates his own from that. But you can hear that again, that real electricity, that really raw sound that Fats Navarro's playing with. This has got a really great Reed Miles cover, along with the Francis Wolff photography. Um, just a real classic. It kind of melds together a very old school, very early uh, kind of modern jazz look to it, along with some stuff that is uh, more of what you would have seen in that time in the mid 50s. So just a really great session overall. The B side has 5 tracks, and unlike the A side, it is each song is its kind of own. There aren't any second takes of any of the tracks, so they're all going to stand on their own. 2 of the tracks, let's see, I think it's let me just check quick. The Bouncing with Bud and Dance of the Infidels. So the second and third songs on the B side have an early appearance of Sonny Rollins on it. So great to kind of hear his sound. Much different than what you'd hear in later sessions, not as upfront, not really commanding the stage like he would when he really got going in the mid to late 50s. But what really stood out to me were the first song. It's the first song. I think it's the first song. Yes, the first song, and then the final 2 that are on the B side. So Double Talk is the first song that is just a really fast moving track. It actually is the one song that contains both Fats Navarro on trumpet along with Howard McGee. So it's got 2 trumpet players. Both of them, again, are legends when it comes to trumpet playing. Really revolutionized the sound and what you were able to do with a trumpet. And then the final 2 songs on the B side, Bouncing with Bud, and then the other song is called The Skunk. Those really great trumpet playing, especially by Fats, but what really stood out to me was the alto sax playing, which was Ernie Henry. He had a few sessions here and there. He wasn't a very prolific artist. He had a few sessions on, one of his ended up on, I believe, I'm trying to think of the label. I can't think of what it is, but he had a few sessions in like maybe River. It might have been a Riverside. He might have had a few sessions on Riverside in the mid to late 50s, but really great sound for him. It really complements Fats Navarro's trumpet playing real well, and just an impressive session. So I definitely recommend picking this up if you do see it. It's not one that does come to be a lot, but again, what I showed at the beginning of the video, that the Blue Note reissue series that started in the probably the mid 70s by Michael Koskuna, who was kind of the leader, or kind of the one that took charge of Blue Note at that time. Just really great bang for your buck, being able to get both sessions for really the price. I mean, a much better price than anything that you would see. So definitely recommend picking this up. It's got a much different sound than what you're going to hear on the other Blue Note albums that are around it. Some other ones that we talked about, or that you see in other past videos with, like I showed the introducing Kenny Burrell. There was another one with the Horace Silver and the Jazz Messengers. There's been a few early Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers one, a Thad Jones one, actually 2 Thad Jones ones, some Miles Davis ones, and this is much different than maybe, other than the Miles Davis ones. A lot of those other sessions had a much different sound than this. These sessions really predated that hard bop sound. Again, it's going to be that bebop mainly sound, because that was when it was starting to become popular in the later 40s. But it's got that real quick pace to it that's very impressive, and a great contrast to the Blue Note catalog. So definitely recommend picking up the session whenever you see it. If you see it as the twofer, or you see an early copy or something. I got this one back in November. This is a kind of a transition label. This came out in like 62 probably. So it's got the original label on the A side, the Deep Groove Lexington Ave. That would have been 767. And then on the B side, it's got the New York, but it's not Deep Groove. So obviously Deep Groove kind of came to be through about 1962, maybe late 61, early 62. And then it kind of was phased out, especially as the New York era came to be. But just a really great sounding album. But I am actually interested in selling this one. So if anybody is interested in having this, please just send me a message in the comments section. Again, I got that 2 for It Sounds Incredible. And again, if anybody's interested in this copy, it's in pretty good condition. So just, I don't really need 2 copies. And this is one of those ones where it's a great album, but I'm perfectly fine with that reissue. So again, if anybody's interested in this, just let me know. So this is Fats Navarro Fabulous Fats Navarro Volume 2, Blue Note 1532. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please think about liking and subscribing, and stay tuned, because in the next few days I will be doing another video to kind of commemorate my 1 year in the vinyl community, which was actually on the 15th, so at the beginning of this week, along with some vinyl finds that are going to be part of that. You don't want to miss the vinyl finds, especially if you like jazz. It's going to be some great stuff. So yeah, so that's it for this video. Thank you again, Steven, for letting me be a part of this. I have another one coming up in the near future, so make sure you check that out when it comes out. And so yeah, so that's it for this one. Thank you for watching.